Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
Maybe we'll go wash our hands and put some hand sanitizer on a little bit more today then, yeah.
It's opening day for the Red River Valley Fair in West Fargo, and 1 year since 62 people became sick at the event. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. This year, organizers are taking more precautions, trying to make sure people don't get infected with E. coli. Valley News Team's Bradford Eric tells us what changes the fair has made in the wake of last year's outbreak.
Warning, you are entering an area where animal waste may be present. They may pose a health risk for infants and young children. That's just one of the many signs here at the Red River Valley Fair urging people to take precautions. And organizers say they're stressing hand washing in the wake of last year's E. coli outbreak. The final report from the North Dakota Department of Health found no cause for the outbreak, whether it was from the food or from contact with animals. And there was no investigation of the actual fair itself. By the time the symptoms were reported, the fair was over.
Our volunteers are kind of reminding people if they see them touching anything to wash their hands, leaving strollers, outside of those exhibits as well.
At the Ag Education Building, there's hand sanitizer inside and a hand washing station right outside.
We've only been here for about 20 minutes, and yeah, I've seen a lot of signs.
Caitlin Engebretson made sure the children she was watching hit up the sanitizer on their way out.
So maybe we'll make our way to the bathroom a little bit more than today. Yeah, I had no idea.
But she didn't know about E. coli from last year's fair, or the more than 60 people sickened.
Maybe we'll go wash our hands and put some hand sanitizer on a little bit more today then, yeah.
In West Fargo, Bradford Eric, Valley News Live.
Fair organizers say 5 inches of rain since Saturday has turned their parking lots into mud. In fact, certain parking areas are closed off with hopes they'll dry out. In the meantime, you're urged to be cautious where you park and where you walk. If you're heading out to the fairgrounds, here's some other information you need to know. You had better not pack your drone or your selfie stick, as both will not be allowed on the grounds. Also, the grandstand entertainment is free with your paid admission, but any bags are subject to being searched before heading in to see the acts. And there are designated smoking areas away from the food vendors and rides where you'll be able to light up. Organizers also say obey the people directing traffic because it'll make getting around the fair and construction area quicker for everyone. A former employee at the University of North Dakota will spend more than a decade behind bars after an investigation revealed he had child pornography. Robert Beatty was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison after investigators found over 3,000 images and 100 videos of child pornography at his office and home. Beatty was previously the department chair for family and community medicine at UND. Storms with torrential rain and powerful winds damaged homes and flooded highways in north central Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. The damage is clear. You can see where a car got stuck in a roadway because of the storms. The flooding has closed roads, which has impacted travel, and experts believe that more flooding is likely in northern Wisconsin as rivers and creeks continue to rise over the next 2 days. Wow, do we ever need some days to dry out? We're getting a little relief today from the rain, but it seems like it's never too far away. Let's head over to Hutch to find out tonight's forecast. Hutch?
Yeah, that is how the past several days have panned out, Andrea. As we head into the evening, too, the gusty winds will continue from the west and southwest to over 40 miles per hour in some isolated locations. Now, on top of the 40-mile-per-hour winds in the atmosphere, we have a few thunder showers making their way through northeast North Dakota, and those could add a little speed to them. So some of these storms could cause some gusts upwards of 55 miles per hour as they blow their way through. It's going to be hit and miss, and mainly north of Interstate 94 for the evening hours. There's a look at the wind advisory in effect until 8 o'clock for our western counties. That's where things will be strongest. Your planner for Fargo-Moorhead, temperatures through the 70s as we go through the late evening hours. The southwest winds will taper off after sunset a bit, but they'll return tomorrow. I'll have details on wind and rain in the forecast, and a little cooler, more refreshing stretch of weather ahead. I'll have details on that as well.
Okay, thanks, Hutch. Some police officers are angry with WNBA players who wore shirts that said Black Lives Matter. Players for the Minnesota Lynx wore pregame warm-up jerseys Saturday night that read, "Change starts with us, justice and accountability." On the back were the names Philandro Castile and Alton Sterling, who were both fatally shot by police officers this past week. At least 4 local off-duty police officers hired for the game walked off the job because of the political statement. A police union representative suggested that all officers could refuse to work future games because of the players' stance. The WNBA issued a statement saying, "We recognize that positive change starts with all of us standing up for the values we cherish: diversity, inclusiveness, and respect for others." Loretta Lynch declines to answer questions on the investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's emails and the decision not to prosecute, telling lawmakers it would not be appropriate. The Attorney General, appearing before the House Judiciary Committee, was asked repeatedly about the Justice Department's decision to not pursue charges in the case. Lynch referred committee members to FBI Director Comey's statements, saying she had announced a while ago her intention to accept the recommendation of the investigative team. Bernie Sanders officially conceded to and endorsed Hillary Clinton at a joint rally today, bringing to a close their contentious presidential primary battle. Sanders acknowledged Clinton had won the Democratic nomination, but praised his supporters for the progressive causes they had advanced. And Clinton pledged to campaign on those issues, including raising the minimum wage, protecting Obamacare, and reducing college debt burdens on young people. Let's face it, when most people get summoned to their local courthouse, there's always the question of what did I do wrong in the back of their minds. And for those considered low income, going before the judge could also mean not being able to pay rent. That's why Ellen Krug with Krug with Call for Justice is in Moorhead, training social workers and other professionals who work daily with low-income families about the free legal resources available to low-income Minnesotans.
People need to be aware of the fact that organizations like Legal Aid, Legal Services of Northwest Minnesota, whose offices we are in right now, do really great work. And people, the general population, needs to understand that they need to support those services.
Free legal resources for people in both Minnesota and North Dakota can be found by going to valleynewslive.com and clicking on the Hot button. A stolen pit bull named Major is back in Moorhead after he was reported stolen back in June. But the fate of the dog is unknown. A woman says she was parked near the family fair in South Moorhead when Major was taken from her vehicle. Major was found in Shelley, Minnesota overnight with the woman's ex-boyfriend. Moorhead police say legal ownership of the dog will have to be determined through civil court, and no criminal charges will be filed in the case. UND's new president, Mark Kennedy, unveiled a bit of his master plan for the school today. In part, Kennedy says UND will become the chief opportunity engine for North Dakota. Valley News Team's Neil Carlson spoke with Kennedy today about his goals and the long-running controversy over UND's nickname and logo.
Well, the number one priority is to unify the university around a mission, but I can't do that unless I first learn their thoughts, their ideas, their concerns. So listening is my first priority.
However, Kennedy says by the time the state legislature meets this winter, he'll have a university plan in place to show lawmakers exactly how they plan to spend tax dollars. President Kennedy says any discussion about UND's nickname and logo is over. He says it's wasted a lot of time over the years, and they're going to be concentrating on much bigger things. He says one of the main things you're going to be hearing a lot about in the coming months is making UND the chief opportunity engine for North Dakota. Kennedy says that means making sure UND and the state get their share of the exploding unmanned aircraft market.
There's economic opportunity there for people of all ages and for the community, but is North Dakota going to get a share of that? Or is that going to be going somewhere else? We've had a leadership position, but we're getting a lot of competitors. We need to make sure we're focused on making sure we get our share of that economic opportunity.
Kennedy says another goal is to make UND the flagship university of the Northern Plains. He says a detailed plan of his goals will be available in the coming months after he's finished listening to all the voices of UND. In Grand Forks, Neil Carlson, Valley News Live.
The UND Alumni Association is holding a reception to welcome President Kennedy and his wife Debbie tomorrow afternoon at the Alumni Center. It's a